Today we're looking at a pretty significant development in a story many of you have likely been following. The formal charges brought against russell.brand. It's definitely a moment that prompts, well, a lot of questions about accountability and, the complexities of public life.
Indeed. Yeah, the key thing right up front is that russell.brand has been formally charged with several sexual offenses. These are alleged to have occurred quite some time ago, between 1999 and 2005.
Okay.
And this all comes after a period of, intense public scrutiny and a police investigation that actually started last year.
Okay, so let's be specific then. What are the actual charges he's facing?
Well, the Crown Prosecution Service has authorized one charge of rape, one charge of indecent assault, and then 3 charges of sexual assault.
3, okay.
Yeah, one of those is specifically described as oral rape, and then 2 others just as sexual assault. And these relate to allegations from 4 different women.
Right, 4 women. And this all really gained traction after the reporting back in September 2023, wasn't it? By the Sunday Times, The Times, and Channel 4's dispatches.
Exactly. That reporting brought forward a number of very serious allegations. And that pretty naturally led to the police launching investigation into the matter.
Right.
We know Mr. Brand was interviewed by the police as part of that process.
And before these charges were actually announced, Brand had publicly addressed the allegations that were circulating then. What was his position?
He issued a public denial, describing the allegations as very, very hurtful. He stated quite clearly that his relationships were always consensual.
Okay.
So, the laying of these formal charges now is obviously a very significant step beyond those initial claims and his denials.
Definitely. Let's maybe delve a bit deeper into the specifics that the Metropolitan Police have outlined. What are the details of these alleged incidents?
Sure. So the police have detailed 4 specific instances. The first is an alleged rape of a woman down in the Bournemouth area dating back to 1999.
Okay, 99.
Then, moving forward to 2001, there's an allegation from a woman in the Westminster area of London of indecent assault.
Right.
Then, in 2004, another woman in Westminster alleges she was subjected to oral rape and also sexual assault.
2 counts there for 2004.
Correct. And finally, spanning between 2004 and 2005, there's an allegation of sexual assault from a 4th woman, also in the Westminster area.
So, yeah, as you said, it covers several years, different alleged victims, mostly centered around London, it seems, apart from the first one.
Mostly Westminster, yeah, apart from that initial Bournemouth allegation.
That does paint a concerning picture.
So what happens next, legally? I understand Brand was meant to be in court.
Yes, he's been instructed to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on May 2nd. However, the current understanding or reports suggest he's actually in the United States at the moment.
Okay, that obviously brings up the whole question of jurisdiction, doesn't it? How do legal proceedings work when the defendant is overseas? What are the usual steps? Well, typically the prosecution, the CPS in this case, would first try to get an agreement for the defendant to return to the UK voluntarily, make arrangements.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen, if there's no cooperation, then the authorities would likely start considering extradition.
Right, extradition, that sounds complicated.
It is. It's a much more formal legal process. It involves official requests between the UK and the US, in this case, and they have to follow international treaties. It's not always straightforward or particularly quick.
Got it. We also had a statement from the Crown Prosecution Service itself. What was their main message about bringing these charges?
Yes. Jaswant Narwal from the CPS confirmed they had authorized the Metropolitan Police to charge russell.brand. They listed the offenses: rape, sexual assault, and indecent assault, and reiterated that these relate to reported non-recent offenses between 1999 and 2005 involving the 4 women. And they explicitly linked this authorization to the police investigation that started after that Channel 4 documentary aired last September.
And the CPS also made a point, quite rightly, about the ongoing legal process, didn't they? Something important for everyone listening to remember.
Yes, absolutely. They stressed very clearly that criminal proceedings are now active. And because of that, russell.brand has the right to a fair trial.
Crucial point.
Very crucial. And they urged everyone, media, public commentators, people online, to be extremely cautious about anything they report, comment on, or share that could potentially prejudice those proceedings. It's a standard warning, but vital to protect the integrity of the justice system.
Absolutely. And thinking about the individuals who made these allegations, what's been said about the support they're receiving?
Well, Detective Superintendent Andy Surfey, who's been leading the Mets investigation, made a statement saying that the women who came forward are continuing to receive support from specially trained officers.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it highlights the ongoing care and, the sensitivity required in dealing with such difficult situations for those involved.
And it sounds like the police investigation itself might not be fully closed yet.
That's right. The Met Police have been clear. Their investigation remains open. They're actively encouraging anyone else who might have been affected by this case, or anyone who might have relevant information, to please come forward.
How can people do that?
They've provided a dedicated email address, which is cit@met.police.uk. And they also made a point of highlighting the support available to the independent charity Rape Crisis, mentioning their 24/7 rage and sexual abuse support line.
Okay.
It clearly shows the authorities are taking this extremely seriously and are prepared to listen if there's more information out there.
Okay, so this whole situation obviously didn't just appear out of nowhere. To give a bit of context, can we maybe look back at russell.brand's career before all these allegations surfaced? How did he actually become so well known?
Sure. Russell.brand, originally from Essex, he first made his name really in the late 90s, early 2000s as a stand-up comedian.
Right, I remember seeing clips.
Yeah, performed at places like the Hackney Empire around 2000, gained more notice at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. That was really the foundation.
And then from stand-up, he made quite a leap into broadcasting. That really boosted his profile, didn't it?
Oh, massively. He transitioned into hosting national TV and radio shows. I think the real turning point that many people will remember was in the mid-2000s when he started hosting Big Brother's Big Mouth.
Yes, that was huge.
It really was. That show, offering that kind of sharp, often pretty irreverent commentary on the main Big Brother reality show, it just significantly elevated his public profile. Made him a household name across the UK, really.
Absolutely. And after that, it felt like he was suddenly everywhere, hosting big events.
He was, yeah. He went on to host major award ceremonies, the NME Awards, the MTV Europe Music Awards, the Brits.
The Brits, right.
He even had his own debate-style show on E4 for a bit, and he hosted the UK part of the Live Earth concert. He definitely cultivated this persona that was often, unpredictable, sometimes deliberately controversial, especially at those live events. It was kind of his brand, wasn't it?
Yeah, that element of controversy, it did seem like a recurring theme, didn't it? Especially around those award shows.
It definitely was. He seemed to almost, court that unpredictable energy.
Yeah.
And alongside the TV stuff, he also had that stint hosting radio shows for the BBC on both 6 Music and Radio 2 between about 2006 and 2008.
Right.
Which further cemented his place in British top culture at the time.
And that BBC radio period, that ended pretty abruptly and controversially too, didn't it? The whole thing with Andrew Sachs.
Yes, the infamous Saxgate in 2008, a series of, frankly, inappropriate phone calls that he and Jonathan Ross made to veteran actor Andrew Sachs during his Radio 2 show. It caused a massive public outcry.
Huge backlash.
Huge. And it ultimately led to his dismissal from the BBC. It was a really significant setback for him then.
But he seemed to navigate that somehow and found success elsewhere.
He did, yeah. He then pivoted and pursued a career in Hollywood. Appeared in quite a few mainstream films, comedies mostly, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Get Him to the Greek.
All right, I remember those.
So that marked a pretty big shift from being mainly a UK media figure to getting international recognition through movies.
And then more recently, say over the last few years, his career seems to have taken another distinct turn, focusing much more online.
That's right. Especially since around the start of the COVID pandemic in 2020, he's built up a really substantial following on platforms like YouTube.
Yeah, his channel grew rapidly.
It did. His content initially focused a lot on skepticism around the pandemic response, but it's broadened out since then. He talks a lot about politics, society, often challenging mainstream media narratives.
And that online presence has become pretty influential, hasn't it? He's gathered a big audience for those views.
Definitely. He's cultivated a very dedicated following, people drawn to his often, contrarian viewpoints. His content frequently questions established narratives, and, at times it has amplified certain conspiracy theories. And alongside that, he's also kind of positioned himself as a sort of wellness guru, offering advice in that space too. So diversifying his online persona and reach.
So a really varied, sometimes quite turbulent career path then, from stand-up to mainstream UK media, Hollywood films, and now this prominent, somewhat controversial online voice.
Yeah.
And against that whole backdrop, we now have these incredibly serious charges.
Exactly. His professional journey has been anything but straightforward, marked by huge successes, but also considerable controversies.
Yeah.
This latest development, the formal charging with these serious offenses, it really represents a truly significant moment in that whole trajectory.
So just to recap clearly for everyone listening, Russell Brand has now been formally charged with multiple counts: rape, indecent assault, and sexual assault. These are alleged to have happened between 1999 and 2005, involving 4 women, and he is currently expected in court in early May.
That's the current situation, yes. And again, as the Crown Prosecution Service is very clear about, it's absolutely vital to remember these are allegations at this stage. Russell Brand had the right to a fair trial. The legal process is now underway, and it's crucial that it's allowed to take its course without prejudice from commentary or speculation.
And also crucial to remember, as you mentioned, the police investigation is still open. The authorities are still actively encouraging anyone with information or anyone who feels they've been affected to reach out, either to the Metropolitan Police directly or to Rape Crisis for support.
That's a really important point to finish on. Those channels for reporting, and just as importantly for seeking support, are still very much open. Anyone who needs them is encouraged to use those resources.
Yeah. This whole situation, it really does highlight the complexities, doesn't it, of our relationship with public figures, and just the sheer gravity of allegations like these. It makes you reflect on, well, the importance of due process for everyone involved, but also the critical need for really robust support systems for people who come forward with such difficult, sensitive experiences. It's a stark reminder, perhaps, of the responsibilities that come with a public platform and the potential consequences when trust and potentially power dynamics are alleged to have been abused. Something definitely to keep in mind as this case progresses.